Cool. All right, guys. So welcome back to another MVP Friday for Mamba and the online coaches here at the Mamba Method. And today we got an epic guest, and it is my man Nick, all the way from. Are you from is it Golden Bay? Nah.
California.
Yeah. Where's Golden Bay?
Sacramento. It's
okay, cool.
Yeah, like an hour and a half away. Close.
Oh yeah, I've still got no idea, man. So it's all good, brother.
Right next
but man,
to you.
no, I really appreciate you coming on today, bro. And you're doing some absolutely epic things. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, man, and sort of who you work with, and then we'll kick off into MVP Friday and get down to some questions and see how you're doing so well.
Yeah, well, first of all, Dylan, thank you so much for having me. It's been really a pleasure just being a part of the system and learning from you, and being part of the team and being able to connect with you guys. And I can't say enough good things about the whole squad and what you've created. So it's been really cool. But my background's in wrestling, and I grew up in small town towards Lake Tahoe, California. And I went to a high school that was really good at wrestling. And I went in, I wasn't very good at wrestling when I first started, but I just stuck with it and ended up having success, and got a little bit of money to go and wrestle in college. And then I went to college, and it ended up not being anything like I expected. And me and the coach butted heads, and we didn't get along, and just realized I was burnt out at that point. I was like 18, 19 years old, and just burnt out of the sport. And if you have a boss that you don't get along with, it makes life tough. So I just I realized it was time for me to step away from it. And so I stepped away from it, and honestly, it was tough after that, because wrestling was such a big part of my life, and it was a big part of my identity. And when I stepped away from it, it was almost like there was this hole, and I didn't really know how to fill it. And I finished school, and I went to Cal Poly SLO, which is a great school here in California. But I still had this fire to compete. And, I still had that, and I still have it. I still have the warrior spirit. And, that's what drives me, to be an entrepreneur as well. But I still had this fire to compete. So I was gonna wrestle and compete in some open tournaments I had 1 quarter left at Cal Poly at the time. This was 2017, and I just wanted to do it more for fun, but still be competitive. So I had to take some classes at a junior college to finish up, and they had a wrestling team. So I was like, oh, perfect! I'll wrestle with these guys, and and then still get after it, and then compete in some open tournaments. And I was wrestling with my training partner, and he was also he could have went to the Division I level and wrestled, and he was a really good guy. So we were both vying for this 184-pound spot, and we were wrestling. And I remember it was the first day that we were going to go live, and both of us were very competitive, and he tried to throw me, and he tried to do it from this position that I wasn't really expecting him to do it from. So he tossed me. I landed in this awkward position, and I fought the takedown, but it jarred my back, and immediately it was a lightning rod went down my spine, and I landed on top, and I fought the takedown, but I was holy shit, that was not normal. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And we kept wrestling, and kept trying to wrestle. And I was like, hey man, I gotta stop, something's off. And I was trying to stretch, and it just felt weird. And then I drove home that day, and I went to step out of the car, and I put my weight on the ground, and it was another lightning rod went down my spine, all the way to my heel. And I was like, holy shit, like, what is this, you know? And that was my first experience with sciatica. So yeah, I don't know, have you ever had sciatica or anything?
Man, it's crippling. Like I going through like my sharing career and stuff like that. Like that's what stopped me was just that terrible, terrible pain where you're just absolutely crippled by lower back pain. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's horrible, man.
Yeah. So like that happened, and I thought it was kind of ironic because I was studying kinesiology, and this is
Yep.
my last quarter, and then all of a sudden, like I was like, oh shit, I can't move, like, and like I'm here, I am studying movement, and you know, and then this last quarter, I was going to a physical therapist then at that point. So like I went from being strong, what was it, 22 years old, like big strong guy, and then all of a sudden can't move, like can't get out of bed
Yeah.
without back pain. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, am I ever going to get better? And weeks started going by, months started going by, and at that point I was like, I was down. Like my mental was dead, like was affected. I was like, I was starting to doubt myself. I was starting to doubt
Yep.
whether I could ever get better. And then my buddy saw me. He was like, Nick, you need to go train with this guy that really saved my track career. And I was like, okay. And I ended up training with this guy. His name is Brian Quigley, and he was the first guy that started teaching me about FMS and functional movement screen, and
Yep.
moving well. And man, it was funny because I was going to a physical therapist at the time, and these guys were in like suits and all dressed up and out of shape, like working with elderly people, don't really seem like they know a whole lot about coaching or movement. And they were trying to show me some exercises, and it was just, they're just not working, And I was like, I just didn't really trust them. And then this guy showed up, Brian Quigley showed up, and he was late. He was out of shape as well, and he was wearing like puka shells and like marijuana socks. And he showed up in like an old beat up pickup truck, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, you
So
know,
good.
yeah. And he shows up, but then he was a wizard with movement. He started pointing out like how I was, off center and imbalanced, and he helped me like really come back. And like within 3 months, I was back to deadlifting again, back to moving, back
Yeah.
to
Well.
grappling. But that was like the first kind of insight that, you know, um, the system of like going to school for physical therapy, and like you get the degree, and like you get that, like those people still didn't help me when it came to like this other guy, this trainer, this guy that seemed like he didn't really have any credentials, really helped me, really taught me about movement. And that's
Yep.
not saying that like all physical therapists don't know what they're doing or anything, but it was just that was my experience with that clinic, and and that time. So anyway, so that was 2017, graduated college, had just relearned how to move the last like quarter at Cal Poly studying kinesiology. And then
Yep.
I moved back home, um, and then I was like, all right, like, what am I supposed to do with this degree? Because, the next step is you go to school to become a physical therapist, and then you get the job and you become a physical therapist. That's like what people do here in the States.
Yep.
And I realized that like, well, I really, at that point I didn't know what I really wanted to do. And I was like, all right, okay, I'll check out PT. I'll check out, I'll work in the clinic, see if I like it. And I worked in the clinic, a physical therapy clinic back here in Sacramento for like 2 years. And I got some experience working as a strength coach, and it just, I realized that like it wasn't for me. It was like go back to school, spend $100,000, get this degree, and then you get out, you make like 60 grand. Like it just, I saw kind of the back end of like what was working, what the life was. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to be right for me. But, and then, yeah, I'm kind of like diving into the whole story, but this was 2018. I first started like working in the PT clinic, and then really the back pain came back in like 2018. So like I was working, like my first job being a strength coach was working for a junior college baseball team, and then the back pain came back, and it was like when it came back the second time, I was really lost because I didn't have extra help with Brian helping me like rehab from it, and then at that point it was like it kind of there was a long time where it was me trying to figure out what was working, what wasn't, and then I actually like thought about leaving the profession and like checking out other things, and then I started seeing Keegan post, and I connected with Keegan, and then I got into ATG, and then my back pain started healing, and then kind of snowballed in a positive direction. But man, that was like a lot, like kind of jumped right into it, but
An intro, bro. No, that's so cool, man. And it looks, yeah, like I can relate to that so much myself. Like having going through that was almost the reason why I got into my online business with shearers, because like I was in so much pain myself.
really,
Yeah, and like just hearing you say that of like being almost crippled, man. Like not many people notice, but like the first time I wanted to start a gym was probably about 9 or 10 years ago, and I was like, oh, I'll go sharing for a season because I'll be able to save 20 grand, I'll make some good money. And for the first 4 weeks back, like my back was just aching every single day. I'm like, oh, it's just the way it is. This is like you get through it. And then one morning I woke up, all of a sudden my pain was gone. And I was like, good, I'm finally over that hump. And then, the very next morning, the very first sheep, like my back just completely locked up. I couldn't walk. I was just gone. And I was like, I had no money. I was dirt broke. And I was like, that was the last sheep I ever shot because I was just buggered. Like my back was completely buggered. And yeah, that's how I ended up actually doing my online business and stuff like that was because of that back pain. So that's epic, bro. And so you've sort of gone through this journey and this transformation of like, going through bit of pain and stuff yourself. From going be sorry, it was wasn't a physiotherapist, but you were starting to move into that realm. And then how did you become a strength coach for grapplers and then transition to this online piece?
yeah. Um, so I first started transition to grappling, like so when my back was bothering me, like I mean I had my background in wrestling, right, and
Yep.
like and then I was gonna compete, and then I injured my back, and then it started to feel better again. When I first moved home, I was doing a lot of jujitsu because when I got done with wrestling, I got into jujitsu.
Yep.
But then when the back pain came around the second time, I like took a long break from jujitsu, and I was just mentally, I was kind of jacked up. I was like, really, the
Yep.
way I looked at jujitsu and the mat, I was like, man, it's not worth it. Every time I go on the mat, it's just going to cause further destruction. Like I'm just tearing my body up. Like, and I'm already in pain. Like, it's not going to help. So
Yep.
I had a very negative mindset about it at that
Yep.
time, and that was like 2018. So I took a long break from 2018 till 2022 when I like really got into ATG. Um, is when I started getting back on the mat. I started ATG in like 2021. I started doing the
Yep.
movements, and just practicing the long range movements really opened me up and started making my back feel good again. And then I was like, okay, like I'm starting to feel good again. Like maybe I'm gonna get back on the mat and just start rolling.
Yep.
And that was 2022. I started just getting back on the mat and rolling.
Yep.
And then I think one of the key events that really got me back into the grappling community was there's the local junior college where I live in Sacramento. It's called Sac City College, and they have a really good history with wrestling. And their coach, they got a new coach these last couple of years because before that they had a long time like really like successful coach, and then they hired a new guy, and he's nails. He's really like always looking for an edge, like just you know, a really, really good coach. And he started seeing ATG, started seeing how it could help, and he started
Yep.
seeing what I was doing. He's like, hey man, like we want to bring you on board and, you know, like, and train the team. And I was like, awesome. Like, yeah, I
How
would
did
love
he
to.
see you, man? How did he find you?
So we met in his name's Marcus.
Yep.
We met in Marcus Gales, and we met in 2019. He was coming to the gym that I was working at, which was called Ultimate Fitness. And we just connected, and then COVID happened, and then I think he just saw me. So we had met before, and then we followed each other on Instagram, and then he just saw me post, you know, about what I was doing. And then and then he reached out. He's like, hey, like, you know, I want to, you know, connect with you, you know, and touch base and do some training sessions. So I actually trained him for a couple sessions, and he's like, yeah, this is great. Like, let's, you know, love to have you train, you know, the team. And I was like, great. Like, love to.
Man. Yep. Was there
Yeah.
any like specific post or anything that stood out, or was it just like consistently showing up that he sort of said?
I don't. He didn't say like there was like one
Yep.
single post, but I think it was probably just the
Just that
consistency.
connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he knew me from before, and
Yep.
yeah, but when he asked me, like, I remember having this moment in time where I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how much I missed wrestling and grappling, but it kind of hit me one day, and I was like, oh, this is like, I feel like I'm like about to be training, like, you know, like my family. Like I'm one of these people. Like I myself am a grappler, so like
Yep.
it just makes sense for me to train people like myself. You
Yeah, man.
know?
That's
Yeah,
often the easiest niche, isn't it? Is yourself. And so
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's absolutely perfect, man. And I guess, man, in terms of sort of, you know, obviously you've been massively inspired to help grapplers like decrease their injuries and that, but was there sort of like, where have you gone to find, I guess, resources, knowledge and stuff that has like made a massive impact for your clients?
yeah. Well, I think it's been an accumulation of the last like 5 years.
Yep.
Even from like when I injured my back initially, and learning about like the functional movement screen, and then
Yep.
spending time with time physical therapy, who like the PT company that I worked for when I came back home, they're like a more like, you know, cutting edge with the Times physical therapy clinic. Like they
Yep.
use kettlebells, they strength train, like they use sleds. Like
Yep.
they're not a, you know, like your typical physical therapy clinic that you see.
Yep.
So they taught me a lot when it comes to like mobility, stability, and then from there it was like ATG was like a breakthrough, like because I just hadn't learned about, you know, those methods really, like the Poliquin methods,
Yep.
the long range training. So there was that, and then Keegan's been a huge influence on
Yep.
me. His dent style training I've become a huge fan of, and really just his approach to building muscle has been really, really interesting. I just did his muscle club program, which is like,
Yep.
yeah, like an 8-week program, right? And man, I thought it was really interesting. He talks about like how he studied CrossFit back in like after he got done with and you probably you're close with Keegan, so you know all this stuff, but
Yep.
maybe for the people who are listening, like it, man, I thought it was really interesting because Keegan, for those of you guys who don't know Keegan, he's a really high level strength coach. He's created an app called Uncommon Success, which is it's an app that gamifies success. So like you set your own goals, and then it gives you access to a community of people who are trying to better themselves. And it's similar in certain respects to Mamba, and that's how I heard about you, Dylan, is through
Yep.
Keegan, right? So
Yep.
yeah, so Keegan was a really really high level strength coach for the Sydney Roosters, and he said that after he got done with the Roosters, he started, that was like when CrossFit started popping off, like 2012, 2013, 2014.
Yep.
And he said that he was studying that, and he's like, why are these like these soccer moms are just getting jacked, right? like like how are they getting jacked? And like this is really interesting. And
Yep.
he said it was what he noticed is that it's like a combination of lifting heavy, but then also getting in like those metabolic
The metabolic
surges,
stress.
right?
Yep.
Getting the pump. And
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's so true. And like that's, I had done that kind of training before, and it like I had that's actually when I was probably in the arguably then, if not now, like one of the better times I've been in fantastic shape was
Yep.
when I was doing that kind of training. And now
Mm,
I'm circling back to it and I'm experiencing it again.
mm.
But yeah, like Keegan was a huge influence. And then now like moving forward, I'm searching for more, like I'm always searching for more knowledge. So I've got a guy, Yurgos, who's his handle's range training man
Yep.
on Instagram. I don't know if you've seen him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had a look
Yeah.
last week. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I show you.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, he's going to be teaching me more about gymnastics. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's mad. Nah, awesome, man. And like, obviously, bro, one of the hardest things, and it was something I struggled with when I first started like my online business, is like now you have access to all of these tools. How do you go about actually delivering it online so that you can adjust for your clients and still give, them the same information without sort of having like here's everything. How do you apply it to like that one person or make sure they're getting a good approach?
Yeah, I think it's just understanding like where the person's coming from and like
Yep.
what level they're coming into the program.
Yeah.
And really just adjust. I mean, oftentimes I think it's as simple as just adjusting like the sets and the reps, and
Yep.
just really it could be something as simple as that. Like if they're a beginner, like I'm not going to start them with like 7 or 8 sets of something.
Yep.
Like you're going to do 3. And it can be, yeah, I think but it's having that it's like taking that care into adjusting the program that's right
Yep.
for them.
Yeah.
I could give the same program to multiple different people, and make it hard for the people who need the extra challenge, and make it easier for the people
Yep.
who don't need that stress yet.
Yeah, for sure, bro. And one thing, man, I see with you that like, and everyone in our member community is like, dude, your content is absolute fire, bro. And
Thank
so,
you, Phil. Thank you.
um, one of the things you do really, really well is like you're a bloody genius, bro, at like finding what your grapplers are like struggling with and then creating content or a solution for it. How do you sort of go about that, man?
Um, I think a lot of the stuff that I post about, I just stuff that I've struggled with.
Mm.
I
Yep.
have been things that I posted about, and then things that kind of like come up. Like today, I have a post, and I'm going to talk. I made a video, and I think it's kind of funny. But I go in and I'm like, don't be this guy that's shrugging his shoulders up. Like learn how to pack your shoulders,
Mm.
right? But like something as simple as that, like I've been working that movement, the scat pulls, with a lot of my clients,
Yep.
and like I said, I'm getting more into gymnastics, and
Yep.
so I see the value in that, and so I like, what better opportunity to create content about it, than it, already experiencing it in my day to day, and then like, oh, okay, like now I should make some content out of this. I'm already, doing this, right? Like you
Yep.
talk about that a lot. Like you've been an influence on me with that, where it's like content is everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love how you talk about that.
Such a simple thing. And like, I sort of learned the original concept, I guess. Like, and it took me a long time to realize, but Seth Godin, his book, This Is Marketing, is like, once you see it everywhere. And it's like, that's what it is. And like, once you sort of understand that concept of marketing or content is everywhere, you're like, holy shit, my life is actually, you value what you do a lot more. And you
Yeah.
realize like you just put it out there and people really get a ton of value from it, man. So that's pretty epic. Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
bro, like now you're sort of transitioned to online and you still got your in-person clients. What I guess is some like challenges you've sort of faced in that transition, even if it's like mindset, even if it's systems, what has been some challenges and sort of how have you sort of worked your way through them?
I like transitioning to online. I think just at the beginning, like posting on social media is, I think it's easy to look at it and look at it with a negative perspective
Yep.
and kind of look at it as like, oh, this evil thing, like, oh, people are just out here flexing, and like it's easy to get lost in like the negative with it,
Yep.
right? But and then for me, one of the challenges was I had a lot of resistance to posting, and sometimes I still do, but I'm better at working through it, because I want everything to be like such high quality and just the best work that I can put out, that in the past I wouldn't post as much because I was like, oh, this isn't it's great,
Yep.
but you coached me up on just being more comfortable with, just put it out there, like just give it a go. Like literally you have nothing to lose. Like, and it's just the more reps you get, the better you're going to get at it. So I think, being less tied with perfectionism, and then also just really not being worried about getting likes or
Yep.
the necessarily like how many follows you're getting, even though you do want to get more followers. It's like it's more about just like the like you've gone over so much in this program, like it's about getting the right people to hear the message, not becoming some giant 50 million follower account. Like that's not as important.
Yep.
um I think Trent told me one time, he was like, yeah man, like I was talking to someone, and like this person had like 15,000 followers and they're dead broke, like nothing. And then you've got accounts with like 1,000 followers and they're making six figures,
The balling. Yeah.
yeah. And man, your account, I tell you all the time, like well, the first time I saw your account, it's like this guy has like, I think it's less than 1,000 followers.
I had like 300, I think, at the time
Yeah,
we connected. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
But I remember seeing that and I was like, this is peculiar. But you had Keegan's word behind you, so I was like, he's got to be nails.
there's something that I read an article a long time ago called like the 1,000 true fans, and so they've sort of simmered it down now. It's like you only need 100 true fans to really buy into what you do, and you can have an incredible business. And so, like, if you look at your Instagram, even if you had 100 dedicated followers on your Instagram profile, you've got the potential for an incredible business. That's all you need.
Yeah,
And sort of knowing that, it made me realize, like, why am I trying to get thousands and thousands of followers when I only need to make 100 really buy into what I do? And
yeah,
so it's crazy, eh? Like we think, hey, I don't have enough followers, I don't have enough leads. Well, really, you only need one person, and then you just have to show them that what you do is good for them. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That's been a really interesting thing with the social media.
yep,
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, it's like even like I think it's toughest like building it up, but then you know the more I do the fourth quarter method, the more I just see it's like you're not guaranteed anything, right? But you're likely to succeed if you just show up and you do the work,
absolutely, bro.
right?
Yeah,
Like
yep,
that's it, you know, which gives me reassurance, because sometimes I think, and I think a lot of people probably struggle with this, but like and this was another struggle for me at the beginning. It's like, oh, I gotta DM so many people. I gotta do so much work. Oh, like,
yep,
I gotta do so much work to get people to come and, purchase a program and to work with me. And it's easy to kind of get lost in like looking ahead and that. And instead of just showing up and like making it more of a habit of like, you're just gonna do it you set the time to just do the outreach and really do the mundane work. And
Yep.
it's mundane, I think, is a perfect word to describe it, because sometimes, if like it feels so like insignificant, or it feels like almost like futile, like, oh, like I'm just gonna message these people, but then it's like you just keep doing it, and then eventually people respond, like it works. It's kind of strange how it kind of just works if you just do enough of it.
It's unreal, isn't it, man? And one of the best quotes I ever heard, and it was from Coach Travis Mash, is like, if you want to be elite, all you got to do is master the mundane. You know, do the little things every day that are boring as hell, but they're the things that take the good to the great and the great to the elite. And that's literally all it is. And I was even listening to Alex Hormozy this morning, and he's like, that's why people fail. They can't do the boring stuff. They
Yeah.
can't just show up every single day and do it over and over again. And they might have some success and like with a certain method, then all of a sudden they stop doing it, and then they wonder why they're not having success anymore. It's really crazy. So
Yeah, that I love that. Yeah, master the mundane.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome, man. And bro, just maybe if you want to sort of take yourself back now, man, and think about where you were, I guess, as that broken sort of wrestler, to your journey you come through now, and then where do you see yourself in your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah, I forget kind of sometimes where I came from. Even like 2 years ago, like I was still living at my parents' house, like not really sure if I wanted to like jump all into coaching.
Yep,
And I didn't have very much money saved up, and didn't have my feet underneath me. And then to now, I'm like getting the feet set up, and learning the skills and connecting with people like yourself and people in the hive, and just
yep,
like really like supportive people, amazing people. And now I'm creating like my product, which is Match Strong, which is grappling strength. And like in 3 to 5 years, I want Match Strong to be like a world class program that grapplers in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, like all different martial arts like look to, and they see as like, yeah, that's top notch. Like I respect that. I want to do it. People who do that program, like they see results, and it's just like it's an amazing value. And I want that to be the core of it, like deliver an amazing product for people. And
yep,
then like myself, I want to be like the embodiment of that. And then like I think through that, the business will take care of itself. I think I'll be incredibly successful, and that's
yep,
what I'm going to strive to achieve is, a business that, makes a lot of money, but helps a lot of people, right?
yep,
And I think that, I mean, like you told me, like, last week, it's like, man, if you just keep going, like you could have like 250 500,000 dollar a year business, which is like I never even really thought about those numbers before. But I think it's possible, like I definitely think it's possible. And I
yep,
think more than just the money, though, it's about like what that money will come from is coming from changing lives and like making people better and strong, improving people's lives, right? Which is like that'd be the incredible part.
I cannot agree more, man. And to add some sort of Kiwi slang to that is just be a good cunt as you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
love that.
that's literally it, man. Is like it's sort of crazy, man. You started like you've doubled your business in the last sort of 8 weeks, and sometimes to sort of sit down and think, hey, I could go to 250, 500K a year. Man, for a lot of us that didn't necessarily grow up around a lot of success and things like that, it's almost like unthinkable. Like
No.
Keegan, my mentor, said to me, he's like, you make 7 figures. That's cool. What does Dylan look like at 10 million? And I'm like, I got no idea. And he's like, well, that's where you're going. So you should start thinking about it. and is like, until you think about it and start to plant those seeds, it becomes impossible to get there, you know? So
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
exciting, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like, it's like Keegan talks a lot. He's talked a lot about like, like a lot of people have like resistance to like being successful and like making a lot of money,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Like, cause they think it's like a bad thing. They think it's,
Absolutely.
they think it's like evil, but it's like, what you can achieve from when you have money, like you can help so many more people. So
Absolutely, bro.
yeah, the goal is to be a good cunt doing it.
Awesome, man. One last little thing to finish off, bro. When they write on the gravestone of your career, what are they going to write on there?
Ooh.
When you hang up the boots for the last time, when you do your last session, what are they going to write on the gravestone of your career?
Wow. Something about like Nick was a guy that, Nick really cared about the people he worked with. Nick really cared about, the lives, the people in his life. And uh you could feel the love. You could feel the love from him, and he wanted to see people succeed, and he did his best to help people grow. Something about that, something about like, yeah, like trying to build people up.
That's amazing, bro. No,
Yeah.
that's incredible. It's one of those things, like, it's a great question because it's just a bit of a compass. And it's like, if you can show up to work every single day, knowing that you're doing your best to do that, you're heading in the right direction. So
Yeah. What would yours be, Dylan?
mine, oh, you had to ask, didn't you? So mine is just knowing. So he lived a life worth living. Cool. And to me, it's like, part of that is like, I just want to empty the tank, make sure, this life is an absolute gift. And so if I can be on my deathbed knowing that, hey, look, I gave it everything, I gave everything I could to make this world a better place, then I've lived a life worth living. And that's what I truly want to give. And I think what you said, man, about money, like, one of my biggest drivers is I just want to leave a library. I want to leave ability for people to be able to, have access to the information that I've got. And the more money I get, the better the information I can access. And so the more I can give that, then I can hand it on to other people. And I believe it's the most powerful thing. And I believe for me, it's a bit of I'm lucky enough to have that as my gift, is that I love education. And so I just want to leave that behind. And so that's my big driver.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. Yeah. Live a life worth living. Like most people don't, man. Like most people don't. Yeah.
It'd be sad, man, to be on that deathbed and like, I could have given that a bit more,
Yeah.
You don't get another chance.
It's easy to forget about, like, yeah. It's a great way to put it, really. It's a great way to put it.
No, awesome, man. Man, where can we find you on your socials?
Move with Nick on Instagram, and then I have a YouTube link on there on my Instagram page.
Yeah, man. Guys, if you are listening to the podcast or watching this live, definitely check out Nick. His content is fucking fire. For the reason, it's so simple, but the way he is able to articulate what he's doing, the movements he's doing, how that relates to how he can help his niche and his clients have success is absolutely incredible. He's one of the best at it. And as he said, it's like, it's not a crystal clear production. He doesn't have a content team. He's just out here doing good content, helping good people. And so, awesome, man. I love your work, and thanks for your time today, bro. And I really, really appreciate it.
Brother, thank you so much, man. It's been a blast, and let's keep it rolling. I'm excited, man. We got the Mamba mentality.
That's it, brother.
Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Cool.
Right,
Albert, can you kill it for us?